My dad worked in a slaughterhouse in Anaheim where they saddle the cattle, and he used to drive the truck from the company to LA with the hides from the cattle. And that was his job for a long time. And then he joined the city of Placentia as a worker, and he picked oranges, and like everybody did at that time on account of the Depression. So that's how I remember my dad working that hard. And that gave me the initiative to help him as soon as I could. That's when I went to the CC camp, Civilian Conservation Corps. And I lied to get in because you couldn't join unless you were 18. And I said I was 18, I was only 17. And I lied, and I got in, and I served 2 years. $1 a day, $30 a month. And I used to send my dad $25. And I used to keep 5. And then I tried to join the Forest Service. I wanted to become a ranger. And I went to LA and I took the test. I never heard about it. I never heard the results or anything. And I used to ask my supervisor, why haven't they responded to my test? Oh, they chose somebody already. But they wouldn't tell me why. And I knew there was kind of a discrimination going on then. And I came out, and then I worked different jobs. Finally, I ended up at the McDonnell Douglas aircraft. And I went in there for 30 years, and I came out. I could have been a system foreman, but I didn't care for that type of work, And I stayed on the clock, and I became a lead man, and I ran my whole department, and I was recognized as having the best work record of any supervisor they could afford. But I did it because I associated with the people. They liked me as a person, not as a supervisor. And I knew then that I had to get something going. When I was growing up, we used to go to Baker Street School, not too far away from your parents' home. And then after I graduated, I went to Chapman. And at Chapman, one day I was standing in the front room, in the front desk window, looking out, and a bus pulled up. And 3 Anglo kids run out, and they got on the bus. And I looked out and I asked the teacher, "Where are they going?" "Oh, they're going to Bradford School." "Where's that at?" "Oh, that's over on the other side of town." "Why can't I go there?" "Oh, you go sit down over there." And they used to have a place called Little Mexico. Put you in the corner and says, "You stay over there in Mexico." And my dad used to bother my dad a lot. And he used to come to the school. My dad used to like to yell at people, And he got in a fight with him, and they called the police, and they want to put him in jail. And then one of the policemen said, "You know what? You guys are right. Why can't you go over there?" He was white. I says, "Well, you were the first one I ever seen say that because you're afraid to admit that you're wrong." And then we formed LULAC, League of United Latin American Citizens. And then San Diego heard about it. Anaheim heard about it. And they used to come and ask us, "How do you get these things started?" Because we got in La Palma, it's segregated. And a lot of the movie theaters in Anaheim are segregated. We used to go to the Fox. We used to sit way in the back. And then one time, there was a guy came from San Diego. He used to run a mortuary. And he said, you guys want to come with me? Why? We're going to Anaheim. We're going to see what's going on. I'm with you. I heard about LULAC, and I like what I see, and you guys are doing the right thing. Well, we went to 5 bars in Anaheim, they wouldn't serve us. And used to have a sign, we reserve the right to serve anyone. That doesn't include other races except Mexicans. And they said, no, you get smart. As soon as you gave them a smart answer, a question, they would say it was dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. The wife of one of the council members knew me, Miss Harlow. She was a nice lady, real beautiful. And she says, have you got a phone? No, we can't afford a phone. Well, have you got it? Yeah. The store next to my house, John Nora used to own it. And he has a phone, a public phone. What if I call that number? Will they answer? Oh, yeah, they'll answer. So his wife came over one day and he said, you want on the phone? He said, you know Miss Harlow? Yes. Well, she wants to see you, Freddie Aguirre, Jack Gomez, whoever wants to come to go to my house. I used to live over there in the canyon up there by Norththorpe. They each have a big house. And then her husband came in. He was the guy at the meeting, and he looked at us. He says, "You know what he said? What took you guys so long? I served in England when I went overseas. At first, I wanted to go in the infantry because the division, the 2nd Infantry Division, was my favorite. And it was mostly Mexicans from El Paso, Texas, and at Point. And then I joined in, and I took my basic in Texas. And then one day I was on the field, and they says, "Hey," I says, after a while ago, see a company commander. So the company commander says, "I've been looking at your record," he says, and they asked me, they wanted some help in the medics. I said, "I don't want to go to no medics." I said, "Well, you know what? It's not what you want. It's what I want." I got to Chicago one time. I was in the elevator, and I was going up to some floor. There was a guy that had a white jacket on. He says, "Are you in the medics?" I said, "Yeah." "Are you too?" "Yeah." "What's your name?" "Ray Eberly." "You remember Glenn Miller?" Ray Eberly, yeah. And we started talking, and he said, "You know what? We're supposed to go overseas pretty soon." That's when we went together. And the band is supposed to be on board. Nobody knows about it. But you know what? You know the Grand Ballroom and the Queen Mary? Yeah. We're going to be in there. I could hear somebody with music tinkering around, you know, blowing a horn. I don't know what's going on there. That was a band. Glenn Miller wasn't on board. He flew across. And just the band was left. I stayed in England, Hereford, England. It was a way back, you know, behind the lines. I used to see the airplanes bombing by day and by night. And remember those buzz bombs they used to call? I used to see them. A lot of them used to fizzle out, but you know, they worked. And I used to be in the subways in England when the bombing raids came. I used to be on, you know, Liberty, and those people really went through a lot, you know. And then I served about a year over there, yeah. And then when I came back, I was in Rome, Georgia, or another hospital, Beatty General Hospital. And then they sent me another place in Brigham City, Utah. And in Brigham City, Utah, over there one day, we were in a band, we were practicing in a band, and a sergeant came in and he said, "You know Captain Beatty?" "Yeah." "He wants to see you." And he says, "Are you from California?" "Yeah." "Well, I'm going to give you some duty you're going to like. Till you get discharged, I want you to give me a briefcase with a Army emblem and everything. And he says, this is full of medical records of the guys you're going to take home. We're so loaded with people in the hospitals that we want to let people go and have their own physicians in the area take care of them. And it's your duty to take them home. And we're going to give you all the tickets you want. I mean, there's no limit. And when you go to any station, you come first. You go to the head of the line. And I used to have guys on wheelchairs, guys on crutches, and this and that. And I go to New York, Chicago. As soon as I saw my briefcase, they big ways. And I used to take them on the trains. And one time, I remember, it was a captain. He had lost a leg. And he was supposed to be in Ohio someplace. And then when you got on the train, he was so happy to be home. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to do nothing. I want to get home to my mom and dad. And I used to have those voucher tickets. They're like money. And I kept them, and I kept them, and I was making a lot of money, you know. We were not spending no money on him. And then it was a place in Ohio. It's not like Placencia, where we came from. A small town with a depot and a ramp, and the train stopped, and I got him up, this and that, and the station master came over, an old man, and he saw him, and he hugged him. Oh, yeah, I know him like a son. So he stood on the ramp, and he got on the phone, and he told me, he says, look in that direction. You're going to see a pile of dirt. When you see that dirt, that's going to be his dad. I just called him. And here comes a cloud of dust, you know. And I told him what I was doing, what my job was, and what his son needed, this and that. And have you got a family doctor? And well, anyway, he says, yes, well, we're going to let him know. We're going to hand in the papers. And we're going to take it from there. So that's what I did till I got discharged. The best advice I give anybody is education. Me and my wife, and all our grandkids, the one thing we stress, I don't care what you do, don't give up your school, study, because when we're gone, we don't know what's going to happen to you people. I says, it's up to whoever you leave behind to carry the tradition of the name. And I tell my grandkids all the time, the last name means a lot to our family. Don't ever do anything to tarnish it, I said. And I don't care what you do, but don't stay out of trouble. We know there's a lot of drugs out there, and it's easy to become involved. I said, you know what, when I was growing up, there was drugs then. And some of my best friends are dead on account of it. You know, that's all the advice I can give you. Don't let anybody lead you. You be the leader.